So this is going to be a short video about other pre-classical civilizations other than the Fertile Crescent, other than Mesopotamia. So historians have identified 6 main cradles of civilization: the Indus Valley Civilization, ancient Egypt, ancient China, ancient Andes, which is in Latin America, Mesoamerica, and then of course the Fertile Crescent, Mesopotamia. But I'm not going to talk about all of these pre-classical, not going to talk about all of the 6 cradles of civilization. I'm going to talk about some cradles of civilization and also about some civilizations that weren't initially cradles of civilization, like the Akkadian Empire and Babylonia. So we can start with Egypt. And Egypt was it was founded around 3000 BC. Not founded around, but the civilization came into being around 3000 BC. And the world's most amazing wonders from the ancient world, the pyramids of Giza, were built around 2650 BC. The reason behind this, behind these amazing buildings was the technological development that happened in Egypt. Egyptians were very advanced in math and engineering and all of these things, and also in other disciplines that I've mentioned before about Mesopotamia. So they were both technologically advanced. Another similarity in Egypt and Mesopotamia was that they were both dependent on rivers. And Egypt was dependent on the Nile River, even though they didn't have to build irrigation systems around it like the Mesopotamians had to, because the Nile River would flood at a very specific time, in a very specific season. So the Egyptians were prepared for it, and actually that was a good thing that it flooded, because it would make the soil like a bit wet, and that would mean that it was ready for it was good for the plants and growing the plants. So those were the similarities. And another similarity is that they were both very concerned with religions, both of these societies, Mesopotamia and Egypt. And their political systems were very much influenced by religion. So in Mesopotamia, the rulers were like the representatives of gods on earth, and in Egypt, the ruler, the king, was godly. He was thought to be he wasn't just a representative of God, but he was thought to be like a godly being. So, and another thing was that the fact there were deserts around Egypt, it played a part in the advancement of Egyptian society, because the deserts acted like a natural barrier against outer forces, outer armies. So they had an army, but they didn't really have to use resources on it, because they were already protected against armies from the outside because of the deserts around them. So they could build their societies in peace and develop the social structure and the technological advancement. Yes, the Indus Valley Civilization was another one, and it was built along the river Indus, which is in modern day Pakistan, and a very well-known city from Indus Valley Civilization is Mohenjo-daro, which maybe you've heard of, and it lasted till 1900 BC, I think. Yeah, from 2600 BC to 1900 BC. I'm also going to talk a bit about the Akkadian Empire and Babylonia, which weren't cradles of civilizations, but I think they're worth mentioning, because they originated from Mesopotamia, but also they weren't the same as Sumeria. As Sumer. I meant Sumer was a part of Mesopotamia, and Sumer had the world's first cities, Eridu, Uruk, and Ur. But then Sumerian culture was dissolved kind of by the Akkadian Empire and later by Babylonia. So the city Akkad, from the word Akkadian, got a ruler called Sargon of Akkad, and he was the founder of the Akkadian Empire. Firstly, it was just a city, but then they conquered other areas in Mesopotamia, and eventually it became the world's first empire. And it also had the world's first book, if you can call it a book. It's called the Epic of Gilgamesh, if you've heard of it, and it's about a Sumerian king. Even though the Akkadians and the Sumerians weren't the same people, but Sumerian and Akkadian culture got a bit like tangled and mixed, and it kind of was well known about. Babylonia was another city in Mesopotamia, which became huge in 3000 BC. In 3000? No, I don't think it was 3000. But they got a king called Hammurabi, and under Hammurabi they had a golden age, and that was around 1750 BC. But this wasn't the greatest point of Babylonia's history. 1,000 years later, after Hammurabi, who by the way also came up with Hammurabi's law code, which I think was one of the first law codes in the world, or it's one of the best known law codes in the world. And then he 1,000 years after him, Babylonia got its golden age after Hammurabi, and Hammurabi lived in 1750 BC, so 1,000 years later I think is 750 BC. Yeah. So human civilization is 5,000 to 6,000 years old. It's not the same as the agricultural revolution. It took some time before humans developed civilization, even though civilization is a result of the agricultural revolution, but they don't happen at the same time. The agricultural revolution is 12,000 years old, from 10,000 BC, and human civilization is from 4,000 to 3,000 BC, so 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. And these were pre-classical civilizations. It doesn't have a lot to do with European civilization.